What's up, everyone? Have you checked your candy? Let's get into today's video about why you should. Halloween is a time where we send the kids trick-or-treating dressed in costume to take part in the fun festivities and actions that we do. They go door to door to neighbors and strangers' houses trick-or-treating in the hopes of filling their bags with candy treasures. On Halloween night in 1974, Ronald Clark O'Brien took his two children, Timothy and Elizabeth, trick-or-treating, along with their neighbor and his two children, in a Pasadena neighborhood in Texas. They came across a house that didn't answer the door, and when the kids and the neighbor began to continue trick-or-treating, Ronald stayed behind. He eventually caught back up with them and had 5 pixie sticks that he said he got from that house. He gave one to each of the kids and to another kid in the neighborhood that he recognized from his church. Later on that night, Timothy wanted a piece of candy before going to bed. Ronald insisted that he have the pixie stick that he allegedly got from the house. When Timothy tried to open the pixie stick, he had trouble, being that it was stapled shut. Obviously, it had been tampered with. Ronald opened it for him, allegedly not noticing that it was tampered with and stapled shut. When Timothy ate the pixie stick, he complained about the taste. Ronald told him to wash it down with some Kool-Aid. Timothy fell violently ill, fell into convulsions, he complained of stomach pains, and fell limp in his father's arms, and eventually died shortly after. When parents learned about this, naturally they went into panic mode. They started throwing out candy, checking their candy, checking on their children. Thankfully, no other children were hurt in this, but they did find the other pixie sticks laced with cyanide, enough to kill about 2 to 3 adults. When police started investigating, no one suspected Ronald yet, but that changed when he claimed he couldn't remember which house had gave him the sticks, even though he had only been to a few houses that night and only on 2 streets because it was raining. He took police through a walk of the neighborhood about 3 times before he finally showed them the house where he allegedly got the candy. And when they questioned the homeowner, they found that the homeowner wasn't home at the time. He was at work. He was an air traffic controller who was at work and was confirmed to be at work by over 200 people who saw him there. Police investigated further and found that, suspiciously, Ronald had taken out a life insurance policy on each of his kids and was telling people that he would soon be out of his financial troubles. What was even more suspicious about this was that just days before, he took an additional $20,000 on each child out, and his wife allegedly didn't know anything about any of this. He never told her about the life insurance policies he took out. They found out that Ronald was in a debt of over $100,000, among many other financial problems. His house was going to be foreclosed on. He was losing his car. He couldn't hold a job. They also found out, and this was probably the final nail in the coffin, that Ronald was inquiring about where to get cyanide and about how much of it would be needed to kill someone. Cyanide, of course, was the poison in the pixie stick that killed his son Timothy. Putting all this together, they concluded that Ronald had killed his own child for financial gain to get himself out of financial troubles, and using the urban legends of strangers tampering with Halloween candy to poison kids as a scapegoat, as his cover-up. Ronald maintained his innocence until the day he was executed. He was tried and found guilty and was sentenced to be executed by lethal injection. Until the day he was executed, he maintained that he had no part in it, that he was innocent. Crowds gathered outside of the jail where Ronald was executed, throwing candy, holding signs, and chanting "trick or treat," calling him Candyman and the man who killed Halloween. It's a sad case, but it's also a sad reminder that it's not only strangers that we have to fear. Sometimes, even more sadly, is that it's our own flesh and blood. all of the Halloween tamperings, the candy tamperings that were real cases actually turned out to be cases where it wasn't strangers at all that did it, but people that the victims knew. And in some cases, the kids themselves looking for attention. But it's also a reminder of why on Halloween you should always check your candy.